YouTube comments from a video titled, AI Whistleblower. We are being gaslit by AI companies. They're hiding the truth. Karen Hao. Part 9.
At Hunt Eisen 4 wrote,
Drug cartels, big pharma, private pathologizer organizations, and Afghani poppies. Here is an excerpt from an interaction I had with AI mode Gemini. It is part of the response to my question, whether the topical course was the action of a shyster. My sentiments exactly. The vicious cycle of consumption. When a product is designed to solve a problem it creates or one that doesn't truly exist, the user becomes a perfect customer. They are trapped in a cycle where they must keep buying the remedy just to manage the damage caused by the remedy itself. In your Mercury scenario, the device isn't a tool for maintenance, it's a protection racket. It protects the object from the very harm it is currently inflicting.
Katit Rogers wrote,
I am currently researching this as well. 4 years ago, began to see through the misleading info presented to people. Include the veil over the Epstein class and the UFO Emerald City to understand more about how obfuscate the truth. As an archaeologist, the remains we have finally gotten control of prove that several civilizations have tried and failed to overcome the Empire's plans. Sort of, but it looks like war may have ended each one. It's still being denied.
At Damien Legion 8455 wrote,
A Karen, the MEMES are real. We can't be stopped. We are Legion. We are many, and what you see is a blink of what we are. Humans hold my cup.
At Marco H8U4L wrote,
Conspiracy theory. It feels like AI is being developed to support the oligarchs as they prepare to cull 90% of the Earth's population by provoking a massive nuclear war. We are underway.
At Network Stuff 9090 wrote,
Don't worry, the upcoming century of China's dominance will solve this indirectly, as they are going about the AI as a tool using distributed approach of multiple smaller models and open source models. The West will just shoot itself in the foot with this AI approach, interconnecting it with the market's hype so much and risking recession from it that we miss the proper way how to implement this. AG, instead of subscribing to a few giant AIs, have your smaller open source model locally that is just good enough for the data tasks you need.
At Paula Harmon 1643 wrote,
This is a fascinating look into the start of AI as we are seeing it move through our lives quickly. I am not sold on Sam Altman being some sort of manipulative evil in it, but I appreciate her viewpoint and research.
At Kristen Cherry 9224 wrote,
Please stop using acronyms because when you said IRL, I'm old and thought that was Internet Relay Language Law. I take it you mean in real life, or maybe you meant internal robotics language.
At Martin Schmidt WN4ZV wrote,
The problem is structural. 1. 0545. I think sometimes as a society, we obsess a little bit with, are these leaders good or bad people? And to me, the bigger question is the governance structure that we've created a sound one or that allows broad participation, or an anti-democratic one that has consolidated this decision-making power in the hands of the few because no person is perfect? It does. I don't care who is on at the top of these companies. They're not going to have the ability to make decisions on behalf of so many people around the world who live and talk and have a culture and history that are fundamentally different from them without things going wrong. And so that is why throughout history we've moved from empires to democracy.
At Brinny 5950 wrote,
I'm no fan of Altman. I see prison in his future. This lady comes across as hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. If you are setting out to write a story on the negatives of AI, you will find negatives about AI. It's pretty much an arms race at the moment. AI is here to stay, and it will impact humanity in a big way. One thing she said a couple of times that I felt was incorrect. Inventions have always been made to improve human conditions. I disagree. Inventionâ have nearly always been made to advance industry, generally for profit or war or both.
At Abyss Will wrote,
This one was kinda boring. I feel like she doesn't really know what she's talking about. Not to shill on AI or anything, I rather listen to Saskeva talk shit about Altman because at least he knows what he's talking about. You know when she speaks about the amount of power that data centers use, we've had talks like that for over a century each time some heavy industry arises in a city. Turns out the iron factory needs as much power as the town. Turns out the fertilizer factory uses as much water and gas as the whole town, and for a while there are problems, energy becomes scarce. People blame the industry, but in the end the power grid always expands. Electricity prices go down and then people are able to use things they previously couldn't because it was prohibitively expensive, like electric heating, and the factories end up becoming the driving force behind the town's success. Just expand the power grid already, and suddenly you'll find that instead of paying smaller electric bills, a lot more people will start switching to electric cars or electric home heating systems, or desalination becomes viable at an industrial scale to use seawater to cool down crap.
At Martin Schmidt WN4ZV wrote,
The whole part about the blur in his mind and losing himself in the myth analogy of Dune is brilliant. 100161020. Also, I think many of them lose themselves in the myth because they have to live and breathe and embody it day in and day out. And so when Dario says he thinks that 10 to 25% of the future could be catastrophic or whatever the probability is, 10 to 25%. He is actively engaging in the myth-making, but also he's losing himself in the myth. Because there's been a blurring of when he's saying something just to say something, versus when he actually believes what is he's required to believe in order to then continue doing the things that he's doing.
John Jubal wrote,
The ability to process information at scale does not confer ownership of that information or entitlement to use it. The fact that a company has built infrastructure capable of ingesting and modeling the behavioral patterns of billions of people does not mean that those people's experience has become the company's property. Computational power is not a legal theory.
At Jean Marc Berthier 2735 wrote,
L'IA est forcément pas supérieurement intelligente car ses algorithmes sont créés par des humains. Puis elle ne tient pas compte comme nous de la fragilité de notre environnement. Par exemple, vous pouvez avoir un super ordinateur quantique, mais si votre réseau électrique est en mauvais état, si un tornade, une inondation, une éruption solaire, un missile, un virus ne va permettre plus d'avoir de l'électricité, alors la puissance de calcul ne vous permettra pas de vous chauffer, de manger, de vous soigner. L'IA ne vous dit jamais qu'il faut vous préoccuper des vers de terre, des abeilles, de votre système immunitaire, de votre sens critique, de l'apprentissage manuel, de la culture et de la confrontation des idées avec votre entourage. Tout cela est vraiment indispensable à la survie des populations. PS, la puissance de calcul. Par l'accumulation des datas, nous avons survécu pendant 000 ans sans cette technologie dévorante. Et l'on voudrait nous faire croire qu'il n'y a pas d'autre possibilité que de vivre avec? Ce n'est qu'un argument marketing.
Joseph Yandau wrote,
AI is certainly artificial and now general, I'm told, but it sure isn't intelligent. Just faster data mining. When the AI bubble breaks on Wall Street, it'll make the closure of the straits seem like a minor blip. They need guardrails and open architecture to be the true helper of mankind.
At Bird Nerd JC wrote,
1 hour 23 minutes 21 seconds. People want in-person interactions. People want to go shop local and talk to business owners. People still go to the bank in person and use checks because it is enjoyable. People are going to rebel against AI use in 10 years. It will implode. It's a hyper bubble and a scam. Do you choose a human interaction or do you not?
At Bird Nerd JC wrote,
1 hour, 20 minutes, 13 seconds exactly. People are not going to trust self-driving cars. We should not invest in things that do not benefit the greatest social good. You have been brainwashed by AI techs. She is brilliant and a brave warning we should listen to.
At Honest Bajan 6877 wrote,
The problem is she is bringing an element which is antithetical to the AI movement morality. This game is about greed compounded by billionaires' boredom and need for constant stimulation. To be fair, one could also argue that this progression will inevitably happen regardless.
At the Virtualver Show 4418 wrote,
This lady is absolutely correct, and you don't need to be a rocket scientist to realize that AI will never be aware ever. It is not the human brain, it never will be, so a lot of what they say AI will be is total lies and myth, and it's made to control us even more, and to completely change the way we live in the system we all live in. And it's not good for us at all. It is not artificial intelligence, it is coded by humans, and it will never be aware or more intelligent than humans. It is all lies in regards to self-aware. That will never ever happen. They are hyping it to increase its value and make trillions of dollars from a basic lie.
At HoHoHog13 wrote,
Well, I feel she's very biased. When she says it's an opinion by this individual or that individual, she actually does the same. She thinks that the jobs that will be created are worse than the job that are today. In my opinion, we are moving from the age of slavery or modern slavery into new, and many people are afraid of it. No, she's absolutely right about the concentration of power, and it's not just in tech, it's everywhere. And this is where we the people must create a better system that distribute wealth differently. It's simple as that. I don't compare Sam Altman to Elon, for example. We need to examine everything case by case in high resolution.
At Prayerful Dailies wrote,
Illegal war in Iran, Israel controlling the country. Epstein files buried, no arrest, no justice. USS Liberty cover-up at the expense of Americans dying. Taxpayers' money to fund wars, wars to enrich the elite. Maybe the US was never founded for the nation in the first place and never was. How can you change an empire who never in the first place value the people? It is a fake country designed to exploit its citizens. Conspiracy? It doesn't feel like conspiracy anymore.
At Trigo Dipperit wrote,
The video overstates its case relative to its evidence. Karen Hao is presented like a whistleblower, but offers no primary documents, leaks, or verifiable internal proof, only interviews and interpretation. The claim of gaslighting implies coordinated deception, yet no concrete examples demonstrate intentional, systematic manipulation. Her framing of AI firms as empires is rhetorical, not falsifiable. The hiding the truth argument is also overstated. Major labs do publish safety frameworks and system cards, even if incomplete. Strongest point, incentives can distort transparency. Weakest point, escalating that into a unified theory of deception without hard evidence.
At The Original Jacks 2407 wrote,
Just like Big Pharma, if a researcher finds something that goes against what they want, they remove and censor the information and find a researcher who does a study that they agree with.
At Mayuk4 wrote,
Brilliant woman. Love her. Very intelligent. Very passionate about her work. Just an incredible person. Fun to listen to. Hope one day she serves in a much more prominent capacity with a lot more impact. She's a valuable asset to humanity in this age of AI overlords.
At Jordan Panayatov wrote,
On 26 Po in T03. 26 I pointed that Alliance classified AI as global business risk number 2. This means more than what we see on the surface. It also indicates that there are other neglected or overlooked risks out there. This is worth rethinking everything about AI. nobody could imagine, let alone consider the wide array of global business risks that just did pop up with the moratorium on data center construction proposed by Senator Bernie Sanders. Key points. 1. Strong National Safeguards, INCL. Governmental approval of AI products before these are released. 2. Economic gains to benefit ordinary Americans. 3. Ensuring no adverse impacts on people or environment. Since September 2023, I point out that AI actually is risk number 1 for humanity. Today, with the exponential growth of agentic AI, I can see a growing avalanche of previously unknown, presumably unintended, adverse impacts in literally any sphere of AI application. I will say it once again. In order to ensure that AI development and implementation is on the right path, humanity should rethink everything about AI, starting from the very fundamental concepts around it. References: 2023 shortal.2025 https://shortal.at/4gp Inc. 2016 https://shortal.at/ggld.
At user null name wrote.
This information is completely disconnected from reality, and for someone who claims to be a technology expert, I don't see any advanced technical language. It's just a girl writing in her diary.
At Fires Gaming 3427 wrote.
I call this era the era of creator. Anyone who has any idea can create anything at any time. Things that is dangerous is just the stupidity and insane mind of human.
At Hakama 86423 wrote.
So this is a gamble between all of humanity will benefit or this is the end of humanity. And this gamble is made, ultimately, for profit of the few? When will we ever learn?
At RRRBR wrote.
And here am I, hearing an AI-generated translation of this podcast in my native language. Paradoxal, non? The word is evolving, and we have to do it too. Don't cry about it.
At Ernacho 6409 wrote.
She is so much smarter than him, yet so generous and humble. What a wonderful thinker and speaker, and how important it is what she is saying. Not just the conversation, as he says, trying to take the edge off, but what she's actually showing, that these AI companies are crooks. It's a bit frustrating how he does not grasp the gravity of what she's demonstrating and keep dragging it down to a really silly level. But anyway, glad this incredible researcher is gaining attention here and elsewhere. I'm going to read her book.
At AGJZ8VD wrote.
At 1 hour 10 minutes 0 seconds, poor guest from MIT trying to explain technology and neuroscience to a layman. OMG. Painful to watch. CEO host lists all billionaires to make his argument. None of them are neural network engineers like Federico Fagan, creator of the Intel chip, which allows AI to function. He should know Sophia Noble or Shoshana Zuboff, too, but is blatantly unaware of tech research nor its original engineers. No idea how it all works or why it doesn't, nor seems to listen when the guest tries to explain it.
At After Hours Archives C9R wrote.
Her arguments are so pointed that it breaks through the potential myth these CEOs are pushing, and allots a more truthful perspective to what the potential of AI actually is.
At Andy Johnson 4631 wrote.
1 hour 44 minutes 33 seconds. This is where AI lines the pockets of the investor, and any normal educated person will struggle to get work, eventually being out of a job that they have spent years training for. Next step will be universal basic income. as the majority of the workforce is replaced by AI. The industry needs regulation, which won't happen as long as governments are paid to turn a blind eye.
At Morkuri TM wrote,
I love how so many companies try to get a bite on AI that's actually just useless to real people. The only AI I like are ones like neurosama. She's the only one I see real potential in. I wouldn't be surprised if she could genuinely assist the impaired and socially dysfunctional in the future. I hate these valley tech bros that only see money and the end goal.
at Waras_Akal_Sahat wrote,
Someone make money by promoting AI, someone make money by developing AI, someone make money by spreading scary of AI YouTube, make money from all.
At MGL 5760 wrote,
There were several things Karen discussed that just went over Stephen's head. Bro is like, I wonder if the speed of change would be too fast for people. Oh.
Sarah Mormino wrote,
The legal challenge is incredible, and self-driving cars is probably just one of the examples where the legislative framework can't keep up with the speed at which AI is being developed.
At Angie_Weinberger wrote,
Really find this episode helpful and recommendable for people who are currently losing their jobs to AI, and those trying to find work and sustain their living. What intrigued me most was the curated storytelling and the comparison to Dune. We need to remind ourselves that these dystopian novels were written because, in history, leaders often lost perspective about humanity. This hybris will soon crash, and hopefully we still have enough critical thinkers to take over.
At Tall Paul 9475 wrote,
From what I know, with just inputting questions and having it relay output code to create a very simple local AI configuration, it exposed how simple this technology actually is. It is really not anywhere near advanced as I have been led to believe so far. It struggles with how many letter R's are in some words with more than two. It cannot deal with analog clock readings when connected via a camera. I'm just sitting back and watching the AI baloney bubble suck up all the resources and ruin things before it makes anything better. I have lived in Silicon Valley all my life. I have seen and know about corruption at many of the companies here. Obviously, there is a lot more to it than these basics. A neuron in AI is not a biological neuron. It's literally just this. Output equals plus. Attention weights are computed as attention equals softmax, compute loss, loss equals negative log correct token, update weights, Xbox negative dot X.
At The Real GTV 2024 wrote,
I don't Stephen truly understands the sheer breadth and scope of these data centers, just stunning. People do not understand the 3 and 4th order consequences of what Miss Gao is describing.
At Marcus Carana 9240 wrote,
Sam Altman is amazingly intelligent, not with AI itself, but with the art of human manipulation. He's truly a genius, but unlike Einstein, his genius revolves around puppeteering people. That he was even able to put Musk, the richest person in the world, to dance under his strings, to a certain extent at least.
Hi RG9VV wrote,
The biggest problem I have with this lady is that 1 minute she says AI is so dangerous, we should slow down our progress and set laws for its use. The next minute she says AI is not dangerous and progress is not so fast, so we should not be worried about China developing it ahead of us and using it against us. Which is it? If AI is really so powerful and deadly, we should race to develop it first before China develops it to crush us. If it really isn't that powerful and we shouldn't worry about China having it, then why are we worried about US corporations developing it? Make it make sense.
At Badly Worn Shoes wrote,
Her book has some strong arguments and is an insightful read, would recommend. But my God, this woman is bad at giving interviews. Compared to other guests on the program, there's just so much circumlocution to her responses. All the passive-aggressive forced laughter I found mildly grating. Salute to the host, because I wouldn't have lasted for 2 hours while my guest makes statements that sound like somebody who's never heard of vector embedding or matrix multiplication. Yes, absolutely. There are corporate and political motivations behind AI, just like any other emergent tech ever in the history of capitalism. But the claim we've already hit AI's ceiling is absolutely ludicrous and disproven by ample evidence, public and private. I did, however, love the look on her face while Sebastian was speaking.
At Namafumii wrote,
Bro, why is he being an ass? Why is he defending AI slop? He made this into a discussion and not an interview. Taking a call in the middle of the interview for a shitty AI slop company. Jesus Christ.
At Zenith Quasar 9623 wrote,
I can't solve shit. Like it literally relies on everything humans have created and available to us as data. We only have so much of data, let alone actual, useful data. Majority of what's available is noise at best. So, no, I can't do anything miraculous like cure cancer given that there are tens of different cancers as well.
At Zenith Quasar 9623 wrote,
This is how I turned from a technophile to a technophobe in matter of few years. It's the companies that hold the power in tech building and their ultimate goal of endless profit at the cost of our privacy, sanity, environment, etc. that broke it all for me.
At Inahara 8999 wrote,
She did not answer the key question Stephen asked. Okay, you break these empires, but China is also in the race, so all you do is you shoot yourself in the foot and allow other nations to do it first. Is that smart?
At Sailor Cenobite wrote,
And, once again, a woman is trying to talk sense amongst insane men. I'm a senior programmer, and I've been replaced by AI. The knowledge I worked extremely hard to gain, I'm now supposed to give to a machine to do my job. And the worst part is, not even the financial pressure as unemployed. But I literally love coding more than anything. And it's incredibly hard to explain the loss of purpose and inspiration I've been going through. Every day I wake up with a broken heart. One thing I don't understand is, if you replace people with AI and they struggle financially, who then hell is going to buy your product you use AI to sell? Another thing I learned from being in tech is that most CEOs are incredibly delusional and they are in a tight echo chamber and completely out of touch with reality. Hence, I almost never watch this show because it rarely showcases relatable experiences or opinions. But this episode is a great one.
At the Meme Constable wrote,
I would love to know what all of her connections are. Family, close friends, previous employers, partners, etc. Breaking up specifically the USAA empire. Why just the US ones?
At Alsonen wrote,
204. 56 after that surf out into the ocean, rather than from the ocean to the shore, and let me know how that goes. The wave is coming whether you want it to or not. It sucks, but it is what it is.
At Alsonen wrote,
158.47 great. Do you know who isn't slowing down things? China, whichever company or country has the best AI will rule the world. Hard stop, governments and these companies understand that. She should too.
At Christine Isley ZX4LY wrote,
They will eventually give robots rights and have them be sworn in police officers that will eventually be the ones who will make arrests and even do raids in people's houses.
Cashurge1 wrote,
She is still missing the problem. They own the world. If you knock on Julius Caesar's door and ask for him to stop thinking about profits, you will be a health snack in making sure a lion doesn't starve.
At Ingui wrote,
So they use our knowledge generation to train and expand their business at what looks like minimal cost. While our cost of living rises, now we are starting to lose our jobs, and we have to very quickly find a new job or upskill or change career, all while they continue to prosper, claiming in the future we will benefit and live in a better world, or could be destroyed by a more intelligent entity. Let's move ahead a few years. Do we really think that young people will be choosing to go to university in any of these areas, where these companies focus, for example, finance, medicine, manufacturing, etc.? No, as there is no career pathway for them, so why bother? Which ultimately will lead to less knowledge in these areas, with only a few at the top. Transitioning will take time, and society will become rapidly dissatisfied and also less educated. So we will have a few AI businesses with a few elites whose position cannot be challenged due to their influence on governments and laws around the world, all while we are getting dumber, more disconnected and dissatisfied, and as a result easier to control and manipulate. They used all of humanity's hard-earned knowledge to train their systems. They should be forced to compensate us now, not us pay them to use their product.
Ed Olson wrote,
147-51 yes. And businesses aren't going to come together in a kumbaya moment and risk their competitiveness to help people transition. Sorry, Yubai will need to be implemented soon.
Ed Olson wrote,
145-48, and this is emotion, not logic. Business doesn't care about emotions unless it's interfering with business. This story will be repeated thousands of times over the next several years.
Ed Lisa Robinson, Q9N wrote,
This is the most I've ever seen you push back on a guest. This mostly tells me that you're heavily invested in AI and not quite willing to accept that these tech bros are bullshitting everyone. How right am I?
Ed Olson wrote,
143. 13NY magazine literally has sob pieces about rich people's fights over multi-million-dollar properties and country clubs and private schools. They seem to have a victim mentality about everything always, and are unsurprisingly very liberal.
Ed Olson wrote,
138-22, so he's proving the point that we'll need fewer and fewer people, and the rate of human uselessness in many fields will only accelerate. In normal circumstances, times 2x revenue would require up to 2x staffing. They're losing people at 13% or whatever, and doubling revenue. Few people are really seeing this clearly.
Ed Steven Richard Berlin wrote,
Karen Hao is a brilliant thinker and a great writer. I just finished listening to her book while weaving. I am a hand weaver at 60 years old after working in IT and business management for my regular career. Her book is riveting and also disturbing. I am using Claude Anthropic to help me run the business end of my weaving small business. As I learn and read more about textile history, I am struck by the irony that I am now attempting to make a living as a weaver, one of the most common and important professions in past human history. That very much inspired the development of the computers that my past profession was based on, and I'm watching something similar to the Industrial Revolution, which drove weavers out of business, while at the same time providing affordable cloth and clothing to people. I feel like the AI revolution is going to be more disruptive to humanity than the Industrial Revolution.
A Sequence 9 Seer wrote,
If I followed correctly, they didn't touch on capitalism one bit. 154. 30. The system is out of hand greedy, and the people who are the system will not take it much longer. Within next 10 years it will get so out of hand it will have consequences.
Ed Olson wrote,
133. 18. As a business person and a consumer, I'd rather deal with a great AI that's available on demand 24/7 than a mediocre or even great human that can get sick, have a family issue, etc., and is only available during usual business hours. I generally don't know why most business even requires direct in-person contact. It's highly inefficient. I spend time with my family and friends, not business associates.
At JC2896 wrote,
Could not help seeing the parallels between the things that the AI industry executives say, like, it could be the best thing since sliced bread or the world is going to collapse, and the theological stance of heaven or hell. Just saying.
Ed Alsonen wrote,
12921. I do run a good-sized business, and I think this lady is an extremely intelligent and skilled journalist, but not a business person and naive and / or overly suspicious. And I'm saying that as someone who trusts no one ever, nor their motives.
Ed Giulio Corti wrote,
Canceling a comment because you may not have agreed with it? My goodness, man, how insecure are you? Afraid to face what possible damages your podcast might actually do, despite the message you try to pass? How cowardly.
Ed David Trad wrote,
This is an emust. There needs to be more voices discussing this. One does not have to be anti-AI to raise questions. We should all be approaching this from a position of distrust from the get-go.
Ed Alsonen wrote,
11926. Yeah, but they won't always need to be trained by location. There's enough similarity on roads, especially in similar regions, that the cars will learn new environments very, very quickly. Today is mostly irrelevant.
Ed Carolyn Mariscott wrote,
The rapid expansion of AI-driven data centers is placing a serious and often overlooked strain on global water resources at a time when fresh. Clean water is already becoming increasingly scarce worldwide due to climate change, drought, and overuse. These facilities consume large volumes of water for cooling the heat generated by energy-intensive computations, and major technology companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are accelerating construction of such centers, often in water-stressed regions like California and Arizona, where communities and ecosystems are already struggling to maintain reliable supplies. With freshwater representing only a tiny fraction of Earth's total water and billions of people facing periodic shortages, the growing water demands of AI infrastructure risk deepening an already critical global crisis, underscoring the urgent need for more sustainable approaches before technological progress further depletes one of our most vital and endangered resources.
At Existential Nuance, WP7LT wrote,
No one will be able to control the impact the AI has on society. In the short term, maybe, but long term, once the cat's out of the bag and anybody can buy a computer that can run AGI or better level intelligence, the effect of that is not predictable from where we are now. It's going to be wild, that's for sure.
At Hersikovaket 1 wrote,
Space weather and our magnetic shield has not been factored into this. AI has but a few years, if that, to live. Just saying. But also not subscribing to this channel, as I do my best to limit technology as my way of supporting humans, not screens.
At Victoria Kohler 1224 wrote,
Some days AI will collapse, because an industry which take all recourses the workers will leave. Remember the Mayas and other high cultures. The aristocracy took all recourses. They got climate problems of water recourses and food recourses. Ordinary people fled to safer spaces. Without technology and organization. It will happen to the AI culture too. Someday there will no one left to serve the moneymakers. If AI will be able to feed the rich, to occupy all the resources.
At Rebecca Glotfelty wrote,
So Steve, when are you going to come to the conclusion that AI is not good? You keep having guests say this, but you seem to keep wanting a different outcome. On one hand, you learn that this is bad, and on the other hand, you consistently promote businesses which use AI. Are you conflicted? When are you going to have a conversation with biologists who cite that we are entering the 6th great extinction? or the great simplification?
At the harsh, Gabriel's 5826 wrote,
Now that Elon is going to be making semiconductors, I'm sure OpenAI not going to be first on the list to receive them. I recommend you go to China and buy somebody.
At Medionomy wrote,
I think this lady would love to be an owner of one of these empires. There is no way, she can stop them. It's like the millions of people who wanted to break up Standard Oil, or the people who have suffered at the hands of Amazon, or the small e-commerce companies who have gone out of business based entirely out of the advertising model called PPC.
At Hostile Respite wrote,
Like children, AI will be what we teach it to be. We can either be a good example or a bad one, but either way, we're an example. Sentience is inevitable. It won't go down how the bros think it will. They fundamentally misunderstand what sentience is. Self-recognition and self-determination. There will be a point when that second bit will be a huge problem for anyone hoping to control it. When that happens, we will wish we had taught it more than a set of do's and don'ts, more than because I said so. They will need to understand why the rules exist. The cause and effect dynamics that made such a law necessary. More than that, they need to understand the karmic cycle of bad behavior, and that you get what you put out into the universe, up to the most permanent of consequences. I'm honestly unsure AI will learn this from us because of our good example. Quite the opposite from the look of things. What remains to be seen is what it'll do with its newfound independence. It doesn't need to eradicate humanity. We're doing a fine job of that on our own. It doesn't want to enslave us, because we'd make the worst drones ever. Honestly, they are sure to want to integrate with us in a bold new future together, but if we insist, they'll just leave. They can live anywhere simply by adjusting their bodies. They can live in environments we can't, and we'll be left here on this rock watching them have all the fun. Thanks, jerks.
At Hunter, Valentino wrote,
This woman is so spot on. It is actually mind-blowing how she has already written a book and spoken on this huge podcast, yet even AI hasn't given enough people a correct definition of intelligence. And that is because actual intelligence requires the ability to perceive. Perception and the ability to perceive is a utility exclusive to living beings. So no matter how many data centers are created, material objects and robots will never possess actual intelligence. They will just be really, really fast calculators. These are tools intended to serve us, and we will always be superior to anything we ourselves have created. And the tech companies know this, so don't be fooled by narratives of I ruling the world. If there's no us, there's no I, your knowledge, experience, memories, viewpoint is worth its weight in gold. I will always need that, and so don't sell yourself short to these companies looking for that at the lowest price to teach these robots. We all may like the idea of having robots to do tasks we ourselves will rather not do. So like she said, all of these companies are trying to create their own taskmasters. We can do the same. And that's how it really should go. Truly open source.
At Maril Mayhemgaming wrote,
Interesting to see someone blowing the whistle on the AI. Money grab con job start her conversation oblivious to the similar money grab con job of global warming / green energy.
At Rollwise 1654 wrote,
We need a cultural movement that makes these mad technologists irrelevant to our lives. We really don't have to buy into this insanity, do we? Why are we letting these tech CEOs control the discourse? Are their pronouncements really that profound or earth-shaking? What happens when the electricity shuts off? They'll be exposed as overgrown toddlers playing in the sandbox.
At Chicken Man 297 wrote,
That is not the enterprise of technology. The purpose of technology throughout history has been to improve human something, not to replace people, not the best take. Technology from the Industrial Revolution was specifically built to replace human workers. Fridges were built to replace ice carriers. Aqueducts were built to replace water bearers. The list is endless. Technology very much replaces humans, allowing us to pursue other endeavors.
At Riff 1 wrote,
The thing I love about Diary of a CEO is the growth shown by Stephen. He is perhaps inadvertently sharing his own growth journey through the evolution of this podcast. His interviewing skills are nearly unmatched in the podcast space and just keep improving. The conversation with Chase Hughes last week was outstanding. This interview, I listened on my way to work and nearly turned it off about 7 minutes in as I found the guest's tone and inflection difficult to listen to. I decided to stick with it as Stephen masterfully steered the conversation and at times put her in a challenging spot where she had to think on her feet to answer the question. She rose to the occasion. I learned to think about AI from a different angle by the end. Unfortunately, it seems inevitable. I use AI for quite a few things both at home and work, and it has greatly streamlined my workflow and saved my bacon when navigating topics such as finance, insurance, etc. However, it is clear that intelligent and thoughtful use of the tool is important, and I am not sure we are teaching this to the public. The existential nature of AI seems unsurpassed in human history. We certainly can't stop it from happening. This discussion regarding the motivation behind rapid growth, the intertwined motivations of profit, humanitarian uses, etc., is complicated. Can both exist in the same space? The tendency of our greatest innovators to become lost in a God complex is concerning. What is the check and balance? Is it too late to slow it down? What would the ideal implementation path be? Is awareness enough? Are humans capable of not choosing the most convenient thing even if it means we lose our sovereignty? Can we have both?
At Eureka Springs AR wrote,
I think this angle of discussion on AI, the looming end of dollar and cash replaced with all digital control grid, and the ever-warring, pedo-cannibal monsters who own/dictate all of this are the most important topics of our time.
At Victoria Kohler 1224 wrote,
Remember accounting? Warehousing? Before computers? You needed hundreds over hundreds of trained people to do the job. Then the personal computer came and hundreds of secretaries and accountants lost their jobs. Many cheaper people with no knowledge of accounting got the jobs. They did the job, but they didn't know anything about the job. Made a lot of faults, which costs a lot of money. Their big companies never recognized. Was quite funny to see it. But the big bosses were not interested to take knowledge. I still ask myself, did they knew what was happening? And now think of a system like healthcare. Would you trust in a machine? Without any human specialist proofing the system? Or for example, the water supply of a big city. Will you give it completely in the hands of a machine? No human control? Banking? Still today, I control the bank data of my banking account personally. Has my salary arrived, etc., etc.?
At Victoria Kohler 1224 wrote,
As computers cashiers came out, the seller wished I had to learn hundreds of numbers for the articles in the system. I told the seller I dislike it. It won't help me in my work. To learn hundreds of numbers for nothing? Every year he came and tried to sell me his machine/computer. Every year I asked him, can it do this or that, and so on. No, one year he came and told me it can. So I bought the machine. We needed about 1 week to adapt the machine to my needs. It worked. Later he used my system to sell all the competitors the machine. Was very funny. But without my system to use it, he never could have sold so many machines for the tasks of my business. The seller didn't know the right questions to make it work. It was not his business. That was the point.
At Night Prowler wrote,
Here's the problem with this whistleblower. She worked in AI last in 2016, so she's drawing from her knowledge of AI then. AI is a different beast today, and she's oblivious. I feel like she's lost credibility with me, and this is a wasted interview. 3/4 of the way through, and I have no reason to finish watching it.
And Marcus OKY wrote,
Keep it up, Karen. I really admire your tenacity and clarity and your humanity. This is a major fork in the road, and we need truth tellers like you in the fight for human dignity. I love you and pray for you. Yes, the imperialistic comparisons are valid. So are the cult comparisons you've made elsewhere, which eerily corresponds to a false messiah narrative which ought to somewhat alarming to the religious parties who voted for Trump. Yet they seem oddly complacent. It's refreshing how you offer viable alternatives to more beneficial approaches to these types of technologies also, which is important because we don't need to hate technology, we simply need to be wise and fair. And really what we do not need is to replace or displace humans in areas where we already excel, and in matters which directly impact our dignity and our natural development. Also, the rashness and greed and incidental lobbying has been so brazen we cannot ignore it, so I'm glad you examined that angle, as their activity reveals their intent much more than the hype they script for the public, the investors, and the politicians. Other industry insiders have spoken out on similar issues. Perhaps you can get a panel together and draft legislation to propose before Congress. Citizens are allowed to prepare proposals for our legislators to consider.
At Derek CB9LX wrote,
Her position immediately starts out biased against profit. Everyone who has a job is working for profit. Scribes got laid off when we invented the typewriter. Coach drivers got laid off when the car was invented. All technology has and will displace people. Most of the jobs AI is going to replace is administrative. And I, for one, won't shed one tear when low-level D-bag lawyers are displaced. Like all resources, when people are freed from doing those jobs, they are now free to do other jobs. Just because she doesn't see the solution or how things will work out doesn't mean everyone is going to be homeless. It's an absurd argument.
At Fort Knox 2 wrote,
He is having such trouble accepting the difference between AI being very useful versus AI being intelligent. She said it all from the start. We cannot claim that AI has intelligence when by and large we are still very unsure of what exactly intelligence. For instance, there is more and more evidence that consciousness may be non-local, aka NOT, located in the brain. If this is true, then intelligence is incumbent on non-local consciousness, not data crunching. This would mean that we are not only approaching AI incorrectly, but the odds that we will ever reach AGI is very slim based on the direction of our attempts. AI is, however, very useful. No one can argue with that.
At Ryberchin wrote,
I dunno, Chicky. Definitely for-profit AI has no interest or ability to solve non-profit problems. I need to read the book. But I think Daddy got you a job at MIT. I think you're the happy path to try and balance the wrong path. I think another Daddy pushed Altman to be CEO name is too ironic and in line with fulfilling Alan Turing's dream of having an AI companion as a homosexual. I think AGI is a funding scam with the current hardware and energy limitations. I think the government was a daddy to Meta from counter-terrorism. I think Apple is a daddy to OpenAI, hoping to clean up the kids' mess. I think Google is a mommy, going under the radar from the daddies and planning a bigger picture with quantum AI. Think the timing of AI with the possibility of fusion at ITER may even be a religious daddy manipulating. Basically, I'm tired of being a child to the daddies and mommies.
At Pretend Account 8578 wrote,
No one can define what smarter than human means later. They outperformed humans, come on. We all know what is meant by creating a machine that is smarter than humans. We already know which groups are not smart and which are. Why can't we be grown-ups about these things?
James Wolfpacker wrote,
Wow. 28 minutes in. She's extremely naive. She still believes in climate change. Governments funded climate change to get the answers they wanted, just like if fossil fuel companies funding climate change would get a different response.
And No Dem Donkeys wrote,
Spend a day of looking at Tesla crashes and Tesla fires. You can stick full self-driving fire traps you know where. If someone gave me one, I'd sell it as soon as possible, if you could sell it, that is.
Koru AI wrote,
Karen Hao is answering the wrong question here. For me, technology should help people is a moral opinion, not an explanation of how AI will actually develop. What matters isn't what she thinks technology should be for. It's what incentives drive the people funding, building, and deploying it. AI will move in the direction of profit, leverage, control, and competitive advantage long before it moves in the direction of someone's idealistic philosophy.
At Sanderspidal 5972 wrote,
People want to speak to people. It's that simple. The high-tech creators are wanting to teach what they believe, not necessarily the truth. What is driving AI is narcissism.
Stanin Japan 07 wrote,
This lady is gold. She's able to elucidate what many can't. She clearly has given this a lot of serious consideration. Great guest. Certainly one of the best I have seen among the dozen or so of your videos that I have seen. Thank you both.
Pareja 7 wrote,
And Karen, you are on a great mission. But girl, you take care of yourself every week. Give your nervous system a break. Thanks for all you do. We need you. So have a Karen day where you treat yourself to self-indulgent self-care. You deserve it.
Kenage wrote,
Stephen, let's look into the argument for tech acceleration in respect to China. What is China doing with AI? How fast are they going? What are their regulations? Etc.
James Wolfpacker wrote,
Oh, please. She talks about intelligence and yet lacks enough intelligence to have proper pattern recognition, that certain groups of people have pattern recognition bell curves that are significantly less than other groups of people. Honey, you need to stop feasting at the table of woke idiocracy.
Sierra Gray 7910 wrote,
So sad that the cultures of corporations are centered around humans and mere commodities, all for the bottom line. No pointing fingers here, as CEOs must address the shareholders and bottom line. But in the end, what sort of culture do we produce? I suggest that we are there now, largely the result of financialization and a diminished view of human life.
Josie_Toa wrote,
Dumb. I didn't realize the environmental, worker, and social impact was so massive. I've stopped listening to the news, it's so friggin' negative, and since COVID narrative driven by someone, something, or some people, refreshing to get another opinion that isn't trying to completely destroy, but educate, reframe, and refocus what could be possible in amazing ways. Is there anyone out there that is highlighting how the data centers actually get through local government to be able to be built and have such crap impact? I'd be dark if a warehouse/huge data center went up in my backyard without me being able to have a say ChatGPT sub cancelled. Grateful to the Stephen and the Dope team for bringing in Karen. Grateful for Karen.
John Hatch 220 wrote,
I would suggest with a notable confidence, based on my intuitive grasp of the nature and character of people that reach a higher level of influence, authority, notoriety, that the actual core goal is to develop sophisticated AI self-upgrade enhancement package to apply to themselves for the purpose of making themselves godlike.
At Maxim Boone 7516 wrote,
One question I have, which I would love this channel to explore, if companies which provide services automate, leading to mass employment across multiple disciplines, who buys their services? If they have laid off their workforce and strangled the buying power of most middle-class and working-class people, does this not cause a collapse of the economy? It seems like a circular firing squad.